On the Husqvarna Viking Amber Air S600 Serger and cover stitch machine, there is a color touch screen with a lot of features that we're used to seeing on our Husqvarna Viking sewing machines. And one of them is the information button. So when I touch it, you're going to notice that you're going to get a full color picture of the stitch you have actually selected. So here is what I'm talking about. In this machine, you have 26 different stitches in this machine. So if I was doing something over in the cover stitch, let's pick cover stitch narrow, it's going to come up with that picture immediately. So you know what picture you have picked. It quickly shows us which of the color locations we need to put thread in. Keep in mind the dots are the ones that are active and the dashes are the ones you're going to skip. And you do see where those colors are showing in the picture, so that's going to be very helpful. In the second tab of the information, it's going to remind us what we need to attach or engage or disengage depending on our stitch we have picked. And we're going to go through all of these as we cover all the different stitches and setups throughout this machine. On the second tab is the information of what that stitch is actually for. So as you're still learning this serger and maybe trying some stitches you've never had before, make sure you look at all the information and see where you're supposed to be using each of these stitches. When you're done, touch the X, and now we're out to kind of the main screen where we'll see what size of needle based on which fabric you've picked. Also, speaking of needles, which location those needles need to be positioned in. Here's a small little picture of the stitch you picked. And then also if there is a cutting width, which right now there is not because the cutting knife is removed. Speed is what we see over here, so if you like to go fast, just leave it at 5. Differential feed and stitch length. Now remember, these will change based on the type of fabric you actually have selected for that particular stitch. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're unsure which fabric you should have selected or you don't know which fabric you'll be using, make sure you leave it on the B, which is woven medium fabric, to get kind of the most neutral settings to come up with. And remember, we can go into the tension. Should you need to adjust any of the tensions that you are using, those will be here, and you can increase or decrease these right on screen. And don't forget, you have an option that once you get everything dialed in perfectly, you can actually save the settings so you don't have to write them on a sticky note and remind yourself tomorrow what those settings need to be on. Speaking of tomorrow, when you turn this machine off and back on, it will come back to stitch number 25, the cover stitch narrow, and the fabric you have chosen. That's what it will remember for you, but everything else will be defaulted back to kind of the normal setting. So if you've changed anything, either save it or keep that in mind that it will kind of go back to normal for tomorrow's stitching. Now, we've really been talking about the information tab here. So let's just say we go back up to our standard 4-thread overlock. Here, that picture comes up again, showing us which of the colors we need to have thread in and which ones we're skipping. Here's the information of what to engage or disengage, plus what is this stitch used for, and then you can X out. Now once you're here, if you're like, gosh, what did that say? All you have to do is touch the I for information, and that will come back up. Touching it again will also take that screen away and bring you back to the screen that you're probably going to be serging from. I hope you'll check out all our videos on the Husqvarna Viking Amber Air S600 and all the extra classes that we are recommending as Craftsy classes that would be awesome to really help you work through additional things you can use this serger and cover stitch machine for.